There is a moment that changes everything, not a dramatic moment, not a sudden revelation, just a quiet shift that happens inside you one ordinary day. The moment you realize that what other people think of you is simply none of your business. And from that moment forward, nothing is ever quite the same. Because here is what most people do not understand about the approval of others. It is not free. It costs something enormous. It costs you your time, your energy, your authenticity, and eventually, if you chase it long enough, your sense of who you actually are. The Stoics saw this clearly 2,000 years ago. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all three returned to the same truth, that the person who lives for the opinion of others has surrendered the only thing that was ever truly theirs, their own judgment. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what happens when you stop caring what people think, not in theory, in practice, in your actual life. Write in the comments right now, their opinion is not my reality. Say it before this video ends. First, you stop performing and start living. Most people are not living their life, they are performing it. Every choice filtered through the question of how it will look, every opinion adjusted to match the room, every authentic impulse suppressed in favor of the version of themselves most likely to be approved of. This performance is exhausting, and the worst part is that it does not even work, because the version of you that other people approve of is not you. It is a character, and characters, no matter how well constructed, feel hollow from the inside. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man who chases reputation is at the mercy of everyone whose opinion he values, that his peace rises and falls with their judgment, that he can never be truly settled because his foundation is built on something that belongs to other people. When you stop performing, something uncomfortable happens first. The silence, where the approval used to be, feels strange, incomplete, like something is missing. And then, slowly, something fills that space, something that was always there, waiting underneath the performance. You, the actual you, with your actual opinions and your actual preferences and your actual way of moving through the world. That person is more interesting than the performance ever was. Second, your decisions become yours. Think about how many of your current choices were made, at least in part, based on what someone else would think. The career you chose because it sounded impressive. The relationship you stayed in because leaving would have required explanation. The opinion you kept to yourself because it was easier than defending it. The risk you did not take because you were afraid of how failure would look. The Stoics called this living by borrowed values, taking the standards of others and applying them to your own life as if they were your own, as if someone else's definition of success somehow applied to you specifically. Epictetus was harsh about this. He said that the person who cannot make a decision without first checking whether it will be approved has no real decision-making capacity at all. They are simply a mirror, reflecting back whatever the room around them wants to see. When you stop caring what people think, your decisions become genuinely yours for perhaps the first time. You ask different questions. Not, will this be approved of? But is this true? Is this mine? Does this align with who I actually am and what I actually value? Those questions lead to completely different answers and completely different lives. Third, the right people find you. When you stop adjusting yourself to be approved of, you lose some people. Some relationships that were built on the performance cannot survive the real version of you, and that loss is uncomfortable. But what replaces it is something entirely different in quality. Because when you stop hiding who you are, when you stop performing and start simply being, you become findable. The people who would actually love the real version of you can finally see it. The connections you form are built on something genuine, on actual shared values, rather than on the managed impression you are projecting. Marcus Aurelius wrote that like attracts like, that the person who operates from genuine character naturally draws people of genuine character toward them. The relationships that come from that place are not just more satisfying, they are more durable. They do not depend on you maintaining a performance, they exist because of who you actually are, and that is a completely different kind of belonging. Fourth, criticism loses its power over you. Criticism, which once could ruin a day or plant a seed of doubt that grew for weeks, simply stops landing the same way, not because the criticism disappears. People will always have opinions. The noise does not stop. But your relationship to it changes completely. Epictetus taught that the opinion of another person is not a fact about you. It is a fact about them, about their perspective, their values, their limited view of your situation. Treating someone else's opinion as if it were truth about you is a category error, a confusion of what belongs to you and what belongs to them. When you have genuinely internalized this, criticism becomes information at best and noise at worst, something to examine briefly and discard if it does not apply. The person who has freed themselves from the need for approval is simply not available to be wounded by its withdrawal. That is a freedom that, once experienced, is impossible to give up. Fifth, you become genuinely hard to manipulate. Most manipulation works through one of two mechanisms: the promise of approval or the threat of its withdrawal. I will think better of you if you do this. You will be seen as selfish, as difficult, as ungrateful if you refuse. These levers only work on the person who needs the approval being offered or fears the disapproval being threatened. When you have genuinely stopped caring what people think, both levers stop working. There is nothing to promise and nothing to threaten. The manipulation has no purchase because the need it was designed to exploit no longer exists. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to be genuinely unmoved by praise because the person who is moved by praise can be moved by the withdrawal of it, and the person who can be moved by the withdrawal of praise can be controlled. Free yourself from the need for approval, and you free yourself from one of the most powerful forms of control that exists in human relationships. Sixth, your relationship with failure changes completely. One of the primary reasons people fear failure is not the failure itself. It is the visibility of it. The fact that other people will see it, will know about it, will form opinions about it. When you stop caring what people think, that layer of fear dissolves. What remains is the actual cost of failure, which is almost always far smaller than the cost of the fear that kept you from trying. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and nowhere is this truer than in our anticipation of how failure will look to others. That is the ViaStoica, the Stoic path, and it begins the moment you stop looking outward for permission to be who you already are. If this video gave you something real today, subscribe to ViaStoica. Every week, ancient wisdom for the life you're actually trying to build. Write in the comments one thing you would do differently if you genuinely stopped caring what people think. I read every single one. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, 2,000 years ago, still true today. See you on the path.